Welcome all to yet another episode of Homeomitra Vartaalap with our guest today, Dr. Faisal Girach. And the topic for today is the global practice of homeopathy. A topic which is so far, I believe, not been pondered upon, not been researched much, not been talked about. And we have someone who has actually achieved that in his lifetime. So, welcome, Dr. Faisal. Allow me to introduce you a bit. And I'll tell you, when I was going through his CV, the amount of work he has done is just tremendous. We in the beginning, I did not know about him so much. I did not go through his CV, but then when I read his CV, actually the topic now is more than justified. He has actually gone from India to the entire world. He's actually gone global. I mean, I don't know where to start and where to end, sir.
Oh,
But
thank you so much, Piyush. I
so I
don't think
mean,
I've done that much, but yeah, there are many people who have done more than me, and I keep learning from everybody.
yes, yes, right, right, sir. So starting from his undergraduate, which is BHMS, to his postgraduate, which is MD in homeopathy in the practice of medicine, to going to Malaysia and working there full time as a professor, plus at the same time uh, even having his practice over there in Malaysia, and then going to Canada, having a practice over there, becoming a faculty in the college. I mean, that is something which is, I mean, in one lifetime, a person can achieve so much, sir. I'm really curious as
Mhm.
to how you have done this, and not to forget that his latest venture is Life Care Wellness, his own personal homeopathy clinic. So, sir, I'm sort of overwhelmed at the same time, curious as to how this journey and how exactly you achieved so much in such a short span of time.
So, thank you so much, Dr. Kayur, for the introduction. Um, so to start with, everything, I would say that, I had good support. I had good support from my family. And my parents, my in-laws, and my wife, obviously. So my siblings, I had very good support from everybody, and this is how I was able to progress. So obviously I started, after my studies and everything, I started my practice, and then I started as a lecturer at Dr. ML Memorial Institute. I think we both um,
Yes, yes.
were there at that time. And after that, yeah, I joined as a lecturer in MLD. After that, almost for 4 years, and I was happy. I was really very happy. I had my practice. I mean, a good practice in Kalyan. I used to practice there. And then after 4 years, I always wanted to go abroad. That was the craze. Because my dad, he was always out of India. He always uh, I think I was just 6 or 7 years old, and then he went out of India, and that time, even I wanted to do the same thing like what he did. Okay, so I wanted to explore the outside world, and then I got an opportunity. So Dr. Ibrahim Usman Maskar, I'm sure you know, he was my professor. I also call him my guru. So he invited me to Malaysia. They just set up a university, and it offered the Bachelor's in Homeopathic Sciences course. And this was 4-year course, and it was the first course and offered in entire Southeast Asia. That time, this university was the first university to offer such course, and in Southeast Asia there were no courses as such, in like bachelor's courses. They never existed. There were just certificate courses. A few people, they would come to India or Bangladesh, or sometimes they would go to Pakistan, get some degree, and few people were practicing homeopathy, but it was not well known. Homeopathy was not well known in Malaysia at that time. I'm talking in 2010, they started it. I joined them, I think, in 2015. So, but now if you see, Malaysia, where homeopathy is today, they're doing really very well. So yeah, I was here in Malaysia for, I think, around 8 years, and I was professor in the university over there. We also had our own practice within the university campus, and things were going really very great. And I have that itch probably, or what, at a very age, like, I was 40 years old, and I decided that, I think I should move ahead and, do something more. And I think Malaysia offered me whatever it could. I am really very thankful to the entire university, to Dr. Ibrahim Osman Maskar, under his guidance. A lot of things we did, a lot of things. And what homeopathy is today, I would give full credit to Dr. Ibrahim. What he did, it's what, I mean, nobody can imagine. So I got a lot of motivation from him. And it was 8 years, and I thought, now I'm just not progressing. It's static. Just clinic, and just professor, and some research here and there. Uh, and I was not really very happy. So I thought, let us try and explore something else. And well, at that time, I was still practicing. While I was in Malaysia, I was still practicing in India. I had a lot of patients from Africa because I have a big extended family in that area, in Malawi, in South Africa, and Mozambique. I have a lot of friends and everybody. So I had my, not, I would say, practice, but it was an online practice. I practiced online over there, usually through Skype, meetings. I would take cases in India, in Malaysia, and then also in African countries, some of the African countries. But yeah, then I thought, let's move ahead. And then I went to Canada. And yeah, when I took this decision, not many people were supportive. At this age, you're going, you have a family to feed, and it's going to be very difficult. And I came on student visa here. So I didn't get PR. So I came on student visa. So it was a difficult choice that way. Even I was scared. I thought, like, whether it will work out or not. And I was always skeptical, but my wife, she was very supportive, and she told me, see, if things don't work, you can anytime come back, because I didn't take my family with me. And she told me that you can always go back, wherever you want to go. If things don't work out, you can come back to India and you can start your practice here, or you can go back to Malaysia. And Dr. Ibrahim was always open. He said, okay, nothing happens, just come back again. And not many people wanted me to leave the university. It was actually a very emotional moment for me. I never wanted to leave, but then I had to move ahead also, right? So yeah, I moved, I came to Canada. But I would say luck, blessings of, all my elders, and I would say, being positive, that helped me a lot. I was very scared, like, what will happen, at this age I'm studying, and I was around 40 years old, and, I had my classmates, just 25, 26 years old, most of them. Yeah, there were two, three people who were, 43, 44 also. So I was happy, that, yeah, there are a few people older than me. Um, but yes, choosing the course, like, what should I do over there? I always wanted to, you know, uh, be in homeopathy. And I know, like, if I go to Canada, there's going to be, it won't be so easy to start practice over there. So what do I do? I love teaching. Teaching was my passion. So I thought, why not I do masters in education? Many people, the agents, they suggested that, I should do hospital administration courses, or, masters in public health or something like that. They have good scope there. But I thought, I don't think that will help me in doing what I want to do in future. So I just took masters in education, a field uh, really different from, a medical field. Masters of education, when we talk of, it's more towards arts. It's more towards arts, and it was masters in educational studies, again more towards arts, more towards art. So it was difficult, because being a medical student and being, like, always involved in medical world, it was difficult for me to, digest a lot of things. I had to study a lot, because masters here in Canada, it's not so easy. You have a lot of assignments, and everything is very critical. They evaluate you very critically over here. So, anyways, I was first semester, I was, like, very scared, and I didn't know what to do. And many times I got stuck, and but the professors were really very helpful. So yeah, somehow, things went well, and obviously now I had a privilege, like, at that time, as a full-time student, I was able to work full-time. So I started searching for jobs. Um, and I knew, it is better to be in some health field. People told me, they warned me, when you go there, remember, you'll have to be a pizza delivery boy, or you will have to work in some fast food restaurant, or you'll have to do this and do that. I said, I'm ready. I'll do whatever comes on my way. To achieve something, you will have to, have some, you will have to do some sacrifices. But luckily, I would say, I was lucky that I didn't have to do anything like that. I got a good job at Brain Injury Services of Northern Ontario. So they deal usually with the brain injury patients, people who have brain injury. We need to do their rehabilitation and some personal care. So I was happy. I got a job over there. It was a full-time job, and in the meanwhile, again, I would say luck or what. But then we had to do a lot of presentations during our masters, right? So my professors loved the way I, presented and everything, and they came and asked me, we want to talk to you. Let's set up a meeting. And then they asked about me, who am I, and what am I doing here, and they were astonished, just like how I was scared. They were astonished that yeah, you're doing really very well, and after coming from two countries and achieving so much, you are here. And one of my professor, Dr. Paul, he told me, what, there's I have a friend in at the college, and I'm sure he will there would be some opportunities, teaching opportunities. And I think I'll talk to him, and maybe you can go and talk to him. And they needed some part-time professors at that time, and I got those. It was a very short interview, and the dean over there, he told me, okay, let's start. Okay, which course you want to take? Obviously, it was not related to homeopathy, but something in business field, something in business in medical field, medical and business field together. So I started teaching psychology and health informatics, some courses on health administration. I got a lot of courses. This semester also I'm teaching two courses. Um, and at the same time, I had my colleague, I had my batchmate. Okay, Sarah. So she also told me, what, the place where I work, it is an indigenous institute, for Native Americans. So she told me, what, we do need a few part-time professors. If you want to come and teach there also, I will be more than open for that. I can talk to the director, and you can start there also if you want. So you see how the things, just went ahead, and I started teaching at Poshki, that is an indigenous institute. I enjoy teaching there. And then I started teaching at Confederation College, but still, Keyur, I wasn't happy because um, I was doing online homeopathy, India, Malaysia, and the other countries. I was doing online, but you don't get that satisfaction, when you're doing online work. So I started finding out, how I can start practicing here in Canada. And then, um, yeah, I got good, few of my students whom I taught at Dowley Institute. They were here, in Toronto. So I talked to them, and Kalyani, I remember Kalyani, and yeah, there were the Swaleha, I think, if you remember them.
Yes.
Uh, then Pooja, they really helped me out and told me on what is the process and how it can be done and everything. And I started it. But that time I was doing full-time studies. I had a full-time job, and it was difficult for me to, complete all the procedures. So it took almost 1.5 years for me to, fill up all the paperwork, and, they had few things to submit and everything. And then ultimately, I got the license in, I think, May, I think this year, May or June, I think. And the moment I got the license, I started looking, and I wanted to start practicing. And then uh, I started at one polyclinic. Okay, so this polyclinic, they have chiropractors, they have massage therapists, they have mind body integrative practitioners, and they were more than welcome to help me start. So I started there. It's less than a month, but things are going great. And yeah, there I am. See.
Uh, I don't know, nothing short of inspiring. The amount of endurance that it requires for someone to do so much and not give up. No doubt, family support helps, but an individual endurance is also there, which helps. And I all those, because this is a recorded podcast, and whoever is going to listen to this, two things you should do is: one, listen to this more than once. Okay. Second thing is, share this with as many homeopathic doctors as possible across the globe. And on that, we are going to come to that question at the end of the podcast. That is going to be an interesting one. So hold on until that time. We have some more interesting questions for Dr. Faisal in the meantime. So, sir, why homeopathy? Why choose studying, practicing homeopathy?
So I always wanted to be a doctor. I still remember uh, my memory that was sharp, alhamdulillah, I mean, touch wood. But I remember I was, I think, 3.5 years old. I have memories of my childhood, from 3 years onwards. I still remember a lot of details of my childhood. So I think I was around 3.5 years old, and my dad, he asked me, what you want to be, when you grew up. And since that time, now this I don't remember, but I told him I want to be a doctor, and it continued, Usually children, they change. Like I have kids. My son, he wanted to be a pilot, and then he wanted to be a doctor, and then he wanted to be an architect, and so it keeps changing, and when you're children, when you're a child, things keep changing, you keep getting motivated by different things at different levels. But for me it was static. I always wanted to be a doctor, and I continued thinking that, and I always um, knew that I want to be a doctor. So one incident happened that I had urticaria, severe urticaria. I think I was around 8 or 9 years old, and I took a lot of medicines, but nothing was helping me. And at one stage, I went into almost anaphylactic shock. I was hospitalized, and even after I came out of the hospital, I still had the urticaria. It kept coming and going, coming and going. Somebody suggested my mom that you go to this homeopathic doctor, and he might help you. And you won't believe it. Within 2 weeks, it helped me. I was all good. Okay. But at that time, even I didn't know what homeopathy is, and I never wanted to do homeopathy. I wanted to do MBBS. Okay. But, we have a lot of competition over there. I couldn't get into MBBS. I was getting MBBS seats, but, they were far away from, where I stayed, somewhere, in interiors, Pune or somewhere over there. So I didn't want to go, and even my parents, they wanted me nearby. And then I had no option. I was wondering, like, what should I do? Should I go into vet because I loved animals? But then, that time, vet was profession. As a vet doctor, they were looked upon. In our family. Oh, you will be a animal doctor. But so I felt bad, and I never wanted to do that, although I loved it. So the other option, which was in front of me, was homeopathy. And I know homeopathy had helped me at one stage of my life. That was the only time when I took homeopathic medicines, and after that, I never took homeopathic medicines. So I thought, okay, let's go into BHMS. So this is how I, went into BHMS, and then um, there was no looking back. I enjoyed doing what I was doing. I enjoyed studies, and I loved doing what I was doing. So this is how I came into homeopathy.
Quite a candid sharing, sir. And for those of you who are listening right now, please mention in the comments if you are able to relate to his story of taking admission to BHMS. How many of you have similar stories? If you have another story, do tell us about that as well. So, sir, going to the next question, your journey from India to the world.
Mhm.
I'm talking about the homeopathic aspect, the practice.
Yeah. So Uh, homeopathic practice that way is, very different in whichever country you go, it is different. In India, everybody, even we know what we do and how we do, in India, seeing 40 to 50 patients in a day is nothing, for it's common, most of us, we do that. When I had my practice, after my 6 years of setup, sorry, after 6 months of my, when I started my practice, I was seeing, I think, 30, 35 patients I was seeing so easily, and it is so common over there, right? But from patient perspective, 30, 35 is too much when you go to any other country, depending on, because of the population. Like, I say in Malaysia, 13 to 14 patients, oh my God, you saw 13, 14 patients in a day. This is how the people's reaction used to be. Um, in Canada, it is 6 to 7 patients, because it's the population, right? So yeah, one is, the patient perspective of, how many patients you are seeing. So this is very different. That is number one. Number two is, the rules, the regulations, the ethical, laws related to practice. They are different in every country. Um, like in India, doctor is everything, right? The moment the patient comes into your clinic, it is like, I can help him in whatever sense I can, and the patient will not say, he respects you and he knows he's there and we can do whatever we do, for him. So the patients, they know that. But you go in Malaysia now, you need to ask the patient, even if you're examining and everything. Malaysian practice is similar to Indian practice. We practice this the same way, just like the way we practice in India. Only thing was, the number of patients. Otherwise, everything was okay. But yes, you have to be a bit mindful when you are, examining, or, you need to just ask the patients and you have to be a little careful. But now when it comes to Canada, it is everything, even when the patient enters your clinic, you need consent for everything, written consent as well as verbal consent. So I had to prepare I had to prepare a consent form for these patients, and this consent form, it took me at least 1 week, to prepare a proper consent form, so that, I don't get into trouble anytime, if something happens. So patients can sue you very easily over here in Canada. So a lot of rules and regulations are involved, and here, patient is everything. Patient comes first, right? So even if you're touching the patient, you need to first take a consent. Even though you have mentioned this, I've mentioned it in my consent form that I might need to examine you at some stage, but then even when I'm touching the patient, even when I'm taking the pulse, I need to ask the patient first. Okay, so all the examinations, I need consent before doing that. I can touch the patient, I can examine them, but first thing is consent is important. And there are a lot of legal issues, people face a lot of, legal issues if something goes wrong. So you have to be very careful. You have to explain each and everything to the patient. You have to explain what medicine you are given, what kind of aggravations they can have. So I cannot keep anything secret, right? In India, we don't give the name of the medicines unless the patient asks, and even sometimes, I remember when my patients used to ask, I used to tell them, once the treatment is done, maybe I'll give you the name after that, I used to do that. Even in Malaysia, it's okay. We never give names to the patients, but if patients ask, we give. But here it is mandatory. Okay. Along with the medicines, we need to give the entire prescription, and how to take the medicines, when to take, everything has to be given accurately. We cannot give Saclac over here. So that's why I usually give biochemic medicines, because I practice, I am a classical homeopath, so I give one dose, once a month probably, sometimes one dose 2 or 3 months. So those doses I usually give in dilution form, and then I give biochemic, as support. So yeah, these are different aspects. One was patient number, what I talked about, then the legal issues and the ethical, aspects.
On that tangent, when it comes to dispensing, are the doctors over there allowed to dispense homeopathic medicine like we do in India? And
Yeah, yeah.
also in Malaysia, whether it was the same case where you could have a dispensing area or probably some medicine on by your bedside.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
In Malaysia, we could. We had the whole, we had all the medications in the clinic, in the hospital premises. We had everything. So we were able to dispense in Canada now. I have just started, so I just have got a few essential medicines, like mostly 200 potencies. I've got all of them, but 1 and 30, only essential ones which are required. I've got those medications. The problem over here, I can prescribe the medicines, I can dispense the medicines. Okay. So now I am actually in Northern Ontario. It is far away from Toronto, around around 12 to 15 hour drive, from Toronto. So Northern Ontario, there are no registered homeopaths in entire Northern Ontario. So I am in one city. The name of the city is Thunder Bay. So in this entire area, in Thunder Bay also, there are no homeopaths. In entire Northern Ontario, there are no registered homeopaths as such. So I have a lot of challenges that way, because there are no pharmacies. There are two pharmacies that dispense, like, very common homeopathic medicines, like, the combinations, like we have Boiron pharmacy over here. So they have few combinations available. So they just sell those things. That's it. So I had to get all the medicines from Boiron. So, and more than that, I have to spread a lot of awareness. People know, people want homeopathy, but they don't know I exist here. So I need to, do a lot of publicity and a lot of work from that point of view.
Mm. And, sir, what about the online consultation? Could you just share a bit about your experience and how you built up?
Mhm.
Because, like you said, you are seeing patients in so many countries
Mhm.
online. How does that work?
Yeah. So see how most of my practice was word of mouth. My entire practice was that way. I never had any, my clinic. It was never there on any social medias. Okay. I'm doing that now because I realize that it is important. It is required. It is essential now. So that's the reason why I started doing it. But everything was word of mouth, and it just happened. Like, from Gujarat. I'm basically born in Gujarat but raised up in Mumbai. So in Gujarat, many young boys, they go to African countries for work. So uh, few of them, who are my friends, they contacted me. They having this problem, that problem, and I used to send them medications. um, you know, at times it just used to be WhatsApp or just phone call, for acute conditions. But then for chronic conditions, sometimes, that was, I'm talking about, 8 to 9 years ago. So at that time, I used to do Skype interviews with them. But slowly it happened that, most of them, they started knowing me. And, from one person to another person, I don't even know people now, other people who are taking medications from me. And then this is how most of the Indian community, they know me. And, this is how I started the practice, like, online practice. So medications are available. They have pharmacies. They usually go and take the medicines. Initially I used to send them medicines, but now they do have pharmacies in most of the cities. So they get the take the medications from there. Um, as time passed, like, people, they were working for somebody, and the local people of that city, they would be astonished. Hey, you were suffering from this, and you're all okay. What happened? And they told about me, and this is how, people got to know me. And then, more and more practice, it started building up. And then, yeah, this is what happened in African countries. India, I already had my patients. Few patients, they never wanted to leave me, so I continued with them, through WhatsApp and sometimes, video calls. And they keep referring. If any new patient comes up, it is through them. I get the new patients. Uh, and then, yeah, in Canada, I never practiced online. I just started now, so I don't have any online practice here as such. But I hope I will establish that also soon. Um,
I'm quite
mhm.
certain, sir, this is going to happen. And for homeopaths who are listening right now, try to understand the sequence of evolution, how Dr. Faisal's practice has grown. Like, it is said initially only relatives and friends come to you for medicine. Don't tell them no. Give them medicine. Because if you do not know when they will turn out to become source of references for you.
Mhm.
I hope, sir, I have.
Yeah, you're completely right. Another thing is, I started practicing when I was doing my internship. I would start giving, I give medicines to my, friends and relatives. And one mistake that I did was, even when I was doing internship, people had good results, because at that time I didn't know much. I used to take the cases and I used to discuss with my teachers, in at YMT. I used to discuss with them. I used to discuss with some MD students that time. And I used to prescribe the medicines to my patients and to my cousins and relatives and friends. And they used to be, I mean, they did really very well with the medicines. The one mistake that I did is, or I did was, I never charged them. I never charged them for consultation. I never charged them for medicine. What I would like to tell everybody is, even just charge minimal, even if you're charging 50, 60 rupees also, even if that is very minimal, or you can charge full consultation or whatever you want at that stage, but it is very important to charge. Otherwise, you don't have that value. People don't give you that value. They will give you value when you are giving them everything for free. The moment you start charging them, they don't like you then. Okay, so this is what happened. Like, I already had. Now, I don't know if you remember Dr. Dipti Thakkar. I don't know
Yes.
why. I would like to, take everybody's name, who really were inspiration to me. So she is the one who told, hey, you know what, you're doing internship now and you can start. Why you don't want to start? You can start, And when I started my practice, when I had my clinic, when the moment I started it, I already had, like, 50, 60 people who were taking medicines from me. So already I had that thing. But yeah, the thing is, in the clinic, I'm going to charge now, right? So when I started charging, that 50, 60 became 10 to 12. Okay. But that was going to happen. I knew that, and people had warned me, don't give medicines for free. This is always going to happen, and this happened. But it was okay with me. I was sad, and I felt bad, like, what will happen now? How will I survive? How will the clinic start and everything? But no, things went okay. Like, first 6 months there was struggle, but then um, I think my second month I was able to, pay the rent through my, practice from second month onwards. And after 6 months, like, I was saving, okay type of money through the clinic. So slowly people, the practice built up, and yeah, the people who had left me, because they didn't want to pay money, even slowly they started coming, you know. So they did come. But yeah, one thing I would like to tell everybody is, even if it is minimal, you should charge. Okay, because you have that knowledge now. Even if you're taking somebody's help, you have to, you are using your mind, you are using your brain, you need to charge for that. And charge for the medicines also. Don't give anything for free.
So, sir, from this conversation, I now gather three things. The first one is start early as possible, as soon as you can. Second thing is charge your worth. That is the value you generate. I mean, that is the value you create in someone's life when you treat them and when you heal them.
Yeah.
And the third thing is for the family of to be homeopathic doctors, parents, relatives, friends, please be supportive of them. Please encourage them. Trust me, the journey is not so easy. Like I said at the end of the podcast, we are going to discuss about this as well. It is not easy. If you support them today, they will become bigger tomorrow, and they are going to only help the society. Like Dr. Hahnemann says, to cure as it is termed. That is only possible if you support them. Without that support, trust me, it is a very difficult task.
True, very true. I agree.
Right, sir? So,
Yeah,
sir,
and
now,
yeah, another thing is, sorry to interrupt. Another thing is, social service is also very important. Every time it's not about money, people, young people, the what happens is, in why most of the homeopaths, they don't want to practice homeopathy, in India, is because they want quick money. Okay, money never came to me quickly, it took time. Okay, even today, we everybody struggles, because we look at the um way the things are going on, the inflation is going on, everybody is struggling, even if you're earning a lot, still everybody struggles, everybody has families to feed, right? The thing, very important thing is social service, right? Um, and I did that also starting from internship. I used to give 2 days. Okay. I don't know if you remember the trust, RFR Trust. It is run by Dr. Hakimji. Um, so I used to work in the trust. Okay. I started that, and I continued that till the time I was in India. And 2 days in a week I used to go and practice there, and it was completely free. I never charged anything, not even for the patients, not even for consultation, not even for medicines, anything. So what I feel is, you need the blessings of people who cannot afford things. And it is very essential. It is very, very important that, you help the community. Community is helping you. Yeah, you have patients, they're coming, they're paying you. But community, there are some people in the community who cannot afford, and you need to help them. So I always did that in India when I was in India. In Malaysia, I never got the chance, but here I'm now trying to find out some ways where this can be done. And there are two, three places. Maybe in future after a year or so, if we talk, I'll tell you about the progress, what is happening, where I am, where I will be, hopefully. So yeah, that another thing is very, very important. Helping the community selflessly. That is another thing which is very important, which not many people do. And running after the money is not going to work. The more you run after money, the money is going to run away from you. That is what a very sane person had told me, that no, you don't run behind. The money will come after you one day.
I agree, and I think I can myself relate to this right now that I am now trying to myself get into a full-time practice. I can relate to what you are saying. Sir, I have also been observing that you are into academic activities in homeopathy,
Mm.
and also that you have done a master's in education.
Mhm.
Uh, could you please share with us about your academic journey in homeopathy? Because like you were
Mhm.
also as a working as a professor in Cyber Jaya, and before that you were also working as a lecturer in Dhawale College in Mumbai.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, what I mean, how do you two things? I mean, what about your teaching life, and how do you balance practice and teaching both together? Because from what I have understood, it is very difficult to balance both of these because both are equally demanding professions.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, teaching that way was my passion. I always loved teaching. And after my 12th standard, when I just was about to start BHMS, I would teach in one classes, allied classes. I used to teach biology over there, and I loved doing it. They used to pay me, obviously, and I loved doing it. And this is how I realized that, one day I'm going to teach. Okay. And then I got opportunity, after completing my studies, my master's, my MD at Dhawale, they offered me that, yeah, there is a position. Would you like to work? I gave an interview, and yeah, rest was the history. I got selected, and yeah, then I started working. So it was tough, teaching and clinic. You won't believe it. When I was in India, I used to wake up at 4 a.m. Okay, and then I used to travel by train to Palghar. From Kalyan to Palghar, almost, it took 2.5 to 3 hours, right? So then I would reach around 7:30 at Palghar, and then, you know, start the teaching and everything, whatever sessions are there, everything. And then also do some, bedside for the students, and also do some OPD, as like for students, like, this is how we used to learn over there. It was teaching, OPD, IPD, all the things were there. And then after I finished there, I used to run again, and I used to catch a train, and I used to reach at around 5:30 p.m. where I lived in Kalyan. And then I would directly go to the clinic, right? And then the clinic would be there till 11:30, 12. And then when it started flourishing, sometimes even at 1 a.m., I was closing the clinic. So yeah, I had no family time. And that's the main reason why I moved to Malaysia, because I was getting the same amount of money that I was earning in India from my clinic and teaching. Same thing I was earning in Malaysia, but then the quality of life was better. It was 9 to 5, Saturday, Sunday off. And that's why I thought, let's go. If I'm getting opportunity, I should just go. So it was really very hectic, but I did manage and I enjoyed it. The thing is, if you enjoy something, you will be able to do it, even if you don't have time. And I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed teaching because at the same time, while I was teaching, I learned a lot from my students, from my head of departments, Dr. Dinesh Rao. He was the head of department, and I learned a lot of things from him. So, and then, yeah, obviously, we had other crews over there at Tawle. I didn't come in too much contact with them, but yeah, on and off, Dr. Kumar Tawle sir, then even Bipin sir, on and off, I used to interact with them with few cases, even Kapse sir. So Kapse sir is another guru, I would call him, my guru, because anything happens, he's my primary physician. Anything happens, I always call him. So it was difficult, I can say like 4 years I did that. And then I moved to Malaysia. Malaysia, the life was much easier. And within 9 to 6, within that time, we had to manage our OPD as well as the teaching. So that was okay, and Saturday, Sunday, sometimes, we would work on weekends, but otherwise, this is how it was. And then in Canada, again, it was very difficult. I had three things, I had full-time job, I had full-time studies, and then other part-time jobs. So there were a lot of things, but I would say I'm very ambitious. I would say, and and another thing is always being positive. That after a few days, after a few months, after a few years, I will get what I want. Okay, so I think that helped me, and I was able to continue whatever I did. Yeah, it was difficult, but Dr. Kier, it was difficult, and it is still difficult, to manage so many things. But if you want, if there is a will, there is a way, famous proverb, right?
I feel that after this, if I say anything more, it is only just going to dilute the essence of things which I don't want to do. So I will leave the audience with what Dr. Faisal has said. Listen to it, think over it, and try to reflect back in your life. I am going to do that. And I am sure good things will happen. They are on your way. Sir, coming to the end of the podcast, uh, any take home message for homeopathic doctors who are struggling, or probably who want to practice homeopathy, but they are finding it very difficult to actually get a full time practice, or at least a meaningful practice, if I may put it that way?
I would say, Dr. Kier, everybody, whoever is watching this, all the young homeopaths, I would say, um, it is very important to trust what you are doing, right? And believe in what you are doing. Many people, see, one thing is for sure, I tell this to most of the people, who want to take homeopathic medicines, but they don't take. Okay. Unless and until you don't experience it, you're not going to believe it. Okay. I always say that to everybody. So if you want to believe in it, experience it and do it yourself, So if you are a homeopath, if you are doing your studies, if you are pursuing your career in homeopathy, or even if you are doing BHM as you are in your second year, third year, don't take any conventional medicines. Anything happens to you, believe in homeopathy and take homeopathic medicine. Only then you will develop trust in your, pathy. So it is very important to build that trust, right? Because if you don't have that trust, if you just imagine, you have cold and cough and you are taking cough syrup and all that, and you're not taking homeopathy yourself, how are you going to, and then you give it to your patients, do you think it's going to help them, because you don't yourself don't have trust? How are you going to, build that trust in your patients? So first thing I would say is trust and believe in yourself and in your pathy. Okay, and then you can move ahead. Okay, that is very important. Another thing is be positive. Okay, don't run after money. Monies will come to you, but money will come to you, but then it takes time, right? So for homeopathy, you need a lot of patience. If you want to build up your practice, it needs a lot of patience. So be patient, be positive, and things are going to come to you. They will attract you. Okay, and always staying focused and staying positive will help you a lot. I think, yeah, that is all. I think I talked a lot.
So it was quite enlightening, I would say. And I'm sure those who are listening to this after the recording is over and going to get uploaded to YouTube, you will also find this equally helpful and I would say practically useful in day-to-day life. Because what happens is there is a lot of knowledge available everywhere. But how to put it into practice is a big question. So then when someone has already done it, someone who can talk about it, and that is something which is more meaningful, what I feel. Now, on that note, we conclude the Vartalap today. But before we conclude, do tell us if you want to listen to Dr. Faisal once again. There are many sides of Dr. Faisal which we have not explored. Okay, particularly, at least I am curious about the academic side. Uh, so, do mention in the comments what topic you would like to hear from him, from his practice, from the academics that he has been teaching. He's a core medicine man, trust me. So, any topic related to internal medicine, he is going to be very fluent with that, trust me. Still, I want you to type in the comments. I am also going to mention his email address in the description box, so you can reach out to him in person. And I'm sure he will try to help you in the best way possible with your queries. And yeah, with that, sir, thank you so much for your time and sharing such wonderful life experiences and very inspiring, sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
once
much,
again.
Dr. Kiur. Thank you so much for organizing this, and it was really nice talking to you. And I hope, people draw some meaning out of it, and, people are motivated to pursue homeopathy. And yes, one more thing, before I leave, I never mentioned about is I'm also attached to one academy, that is Bioquantum Academy.
Mm,
And we do a lot of work in homeopathy and integrative medicine. We have students from all over the world, specifically now from Indonesia and the US and the Mexico, many other places. We do offer a lot of diploma and postgraduate courses in homeopathy. And this courses, they are accredited courses by the Board of Natural Medicine. So if anybody needs any information, if anybody wants to add on to their qualifications, obviously, they can reach me out at my email ID, and I will be more than happy to guide them. Thank you so much.
certainly, sir. We'll add that in the description.
Mhm.
And yeah, thank you all for listening to Homeomitra Vartalap. And I hope you keep coming back and listen to all the different guests that we have over here. And hope you make good of this podcast. Thank you so much, sir, once again. Hope to see you soon again.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're welcome always.